Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Potato Chief and today we're having a bit of a random video. I was lucky enough to be on a PlayStation podcast last week called In PS We Trust. And basically, I'm quite an Xbox person. And I know quite a lot about Xbox and I bought the Xbox Series X. And the PlayStation podcast didn't really have anyone who knew about Xbox on the channel previously. So they needed an expert on this. That was a terrible pun. They needed an expert on Xbox, essentially, to be on the channel to talk about this Bethesda news that came out last week. So they reached out to me and I was like, hell yeah, I'll be on your podcast. I'll talk about Xbox with you guys. And it was a lot of fun and I was very honoured to be their first ever guest on this podcast. So here I'm about to play my segment from the show. If you want to listen to the full show, you can go find it on any or all podcast services in PS We Trust, and it's also on YouTube as well. Links will be in the description, and I'll also link it at the end of the video as well. So without further ado, here is me talking about Xbox on a PlayStation podcast.
Okay, so the first topic of discussion we'll be going into today is the Bethesda news. Phil Spencer was on a roundtable discussion talking about the Bethesda deal, which has now gone through. Now, normally on this podcast, we'll sit there and quite happily shit on Xbox left, right, and centre. And half the time, I don't even know what the console's called. But we thought it would be a good idea to get an expert in, somebody who does know his Xbox stuff. So, introducing to the podcast, our first guest on a live topic with us is Lewis. So, Lewis, give us a little bit about yourself. Give us an introduction.
Hi, yeah, my name's Lewis. I'm Potato Chief on YouTube. I do gaming content and I do wrestling content, mainly wrestling, but I do like my gaming content. I did games design at university, and unfortunately, I'm an Xbox fan, so yeah, it's gonna be a bit 3-on-1 here, I think.
No one's perfect, mate. That's the thing about it. And so I thought about reaching out to you to get onto this, mainly because whenever I post on Facebook about anything to do with PlayStation, you're always there straight away with something Xbox related.
Yeah.
So I thought it's good to get the other side to this so that we can see and make sure that we're not giving too much of a biased opinion. So at least we can have both sides of an argument, if there even is an argument, which there might not even be.
Lewis has those alerts set on your profile, Davey. Anything you post out, he's straight on it.
I just see the word PlayStation and I'm like, oh, rage type. Like, I gotta reply to this.
He's getting it. So, Lewis, you've got the new Xbox.
I do. The
Xbox Series X.
The X, yeah. I don't have the S, I have the X. You got it. You nailed the name. To be fair, I forget.
I'm pretty happy with that.
To be fair, the name is not the strong suit of the Xbox. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, no. So I've got the X. I love it. It's a really good system, and I'm really happy that I bought it. To be honest, I know you're not so much, but I am still. I still like PlayStation. I am planning on buying a PS5 at some point, just not straight away.
When you can find one.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's ridiculous.
But you've got to say that because you're on the show.
Yeah, I mean. Yes, I do have to say that. Yeah, legally, I'm required to say that.
You are.
So, Lewis, like, what have you been doing on the Xbox? What games have you been playing? How do you like it? How do you like the UI? Like, what are your overall thoughts?
Well, so I really enjoy it. The UI they haven't really changed it since the Xbox One. So, if why fix something that's not broken? I mean, I have heard the problems with the PS5 UI because they've changed it completely. So, I mean, there's that. The problem I have with Xbox is I play too many different things because of Game Pass. I absolutely adore the service. I don't know how much you guys know about Game Pass on here. Do you know much about it? Or
I have Game Pass, but I have it on PC.
I have it for PC as well, but I've recently got PS Plus, and I'm in the same situation. Just too many games to play.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I saw the PS Plus collection. That's on PS5, isn't it? That's the one that's Yeah, and I was like, oh, that was a good counter from PlayStation, because that's what I do feel like that was their response to Game Pass.
I think the biggest comparison with Game Pass is PS Now.
Yeah.
And PS Now, in my mind, is a fantastic service in terms of you got a larger selection of games than you do on Xbox Game Pass, and probably a higher quality of game because you've got a lot of Sony exclusives in there. But the difference is, and the reason why I think Game Pass is a superior product, is because you can download all the games natively to your system, which is something that you can't do outside of the PS4 generation, which is a real shame with PS Now. Like, the PS3 games that you've got access to are phenomenal, like with the Infamous trilogy, you've got Resistance 3 on there, you've got all these amazing games, yet you've got to play them streamed.
Yeah.
And it's just it's an own goal. I just honestly don't understand that.
Okay, David, we know you love PlayStation, but let's give Lewis a chance to sort of sell us Xbox.
No, it's
Okay,
fine. No,
Lewis.
it's totally fine. Like, yeah, because PlayStation Now, I was going to bring up PlayStation Now at some point. The main issue, the main difference between PlayStation Now and Game Pass is that Game Pass, they bring everything first party day one to the system. How long is the gap between an exclusive going to PS Now? Because I remember it being a long gap. Yeah, because
It's massive. It's massive. There's a lot of games that haven't even come to PS Now that are exclusive. So it is totally random. There's no kind of set time or anything. So you're totally right. In that department, Game Pass is much better in terms of if you're in that ecosystem for Xbox, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Why wouldn't you have Game Pass, you know? Whereas PS Now is a bit more of a additive feature rather than an essential for PS Now.
Okay, Lewis, I walk into game or electronics boutique or, Tesco's. Sell me it. What am I buying with an Xbox? What is the game to buy on Xbox at the moment for a PlayStation audience that maybe wouldn't have the opportunity to play those games?
to me, it's not necessarily the one game. It's the system itself and the features. Me personally, I weighed up the pros and cons of both systems, and I thought Xbox has better specs and will run most things third party at a better quality. And you had Game Pass, which had everything coming day one. And the prices of games on PS5 have increased and gone up this generation. And so when I looked at the both side by side, it's like, I could get Spider-Man, I could get Demon Souls, but then I'd be paying 70 quid for each game. And it's going to be a massive expense. And every time I buy a new game, it'd be at the full price, whereas I could just pay for Game Pass, have lots of games to play, 4K, 120 frames per second, and I can save my money and get a PS5 when the price goes down, and when these games go to second hand or to lower the price. That was reason why I picked Xbox over PlayStation, at least at this time, because I will be buying a PS5, but that is my reasoning.
Just because you're on the show, you don't have to keep apologising. But what I'm asking you is, what is the one game that I'm buying Xbox for? What's the game that attracted you? What are you playing at the moment? What's in the disc tray at the moment?
Assassin's Creed Valhalla is what I've been playing at the moment. I know it's not an exclusive, but that's the one I've been playing the most of at the moment. I've just downloaded Wolfenstein because I've been wanting to play Wolfenstein 2, but I just got around to play Wolfenstein. All the Doom games are on there now. So I mean, that was big news from the roundtable, is that they dropped 20 Bethesda games on Game Pass. So I've gone back and downloaded a lot of Bethesda games. I mean, I have a problem. I think I've got like a bit of ADD or something, because my main issue is I'll play a game for like 10 minutes and then I'll play something else. But that works perfectly with this kind of secret system. I've Wolfenstein 1 minute, and then I've been playing New Super Lucky's Tale, which is like a platformer, and I've also been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Yakuza Like a Dragon and Forza Horizon 4 and Dirt 5. I keep switching between games because the quick resume. I literally is seamless, just going from game to game to game, and I think it's almost a bad thing to me, because now I just literally can't stick to one game for more than 10 minutes. I'll just get bored and change to another game constantly. I mean, it's not one game, it's the whole ecosystem as a thing, the reason why I bought an Xbox.
Makes a lot of sense. So one of the things you sort of pulled up there was the deal with Bethesda, and I know you are sort of struggling for exclusives to talk about with Xbox, and that brings us on to the reason we brought you onto the podcast.
So the news itself, as we all knew, that the deal was going through with Bethesda and Microsoft, and it was a crazy and eye-watering amount of $7.5 billion that Bethesda was bought for. Now, Phil and Spence, I mean, you guys, I asked you the price of Insomniac a couple of episodes ago, and you were guessing at like 80 million, around about there, and it was 229 million that they were bought for. And when you compare that to this price, 7.5 billion, that's more than Star Wars was bought for. It's eye-wateringly large, crazy amount.
Unfortunately, I don't have much experience in buying video games companies, so I didn't really know where to place that one. And of course, you did ask us after, a copious amount of alcohol as well, so that goes in my defence slightly there.
For the last couple of months, since that deal was first announced, we've all kind of speculated as to what the future would look like in terms of Bethesda games, and if they'd remain in the PlayStation ecosystem, or if they wouldn't. Now, Phil Spencer says he made a statement that was fairly clear. I have issues with this statement, but I'll read it out in full. So this is what Phil Spencer said during the Xbox and Bethesda Roundtable live stream, which happened on March 11th. So yesterday from the date of recording. So obviously I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive, because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through, as we always do in every one of these instances. We have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to support these games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players, and we love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there might be things that have contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do. But if you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists. That's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building. So, what I want to know from all of you, and I especially want Lewis's take on this and what this means, is what does this mean for PlayStation? What does legacy titles mean? And what will happen to Doom? Because that's really all I care about out of this deal is Doom and Wolfenstein. That's all I don't give a shit about Elder Scrolls. They can stay in the bin. So, first off, before we hand it over to Lewis, what would you say, guys?
I mean, I'll keep it short and simple. I have never really been a fan of Bethesda games anyway. I've played Skyrim, I've played Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, I've played Oblivion. The only game out of those I've actually finished is Fallout 3. But I could leave it. I'd be quite happy not playing Bethesda games for the rest of my life. And even if I do want to, I have a gaming PC and they'll be on Games Pass. So it's not like I need to go buy an Xbox. It's fine for me, really.
I find the statement really strange, seeing as, Bethesda have only just announced Deathloop for PlayStation, and that's kind of a new title that they're going to be pushing. To now say that they're going to be, pushing more titles towards Xbox and towards the people with Game Pass, to now have released Deathloop at sort of the same time is slightly a confused message, in my opinion.
So Deathloop is a contracted... PlayStation paid for timed exclusivity on Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, I believe. Those are the two games. So those two games are contracted by PlayStation to be timed exclusives, and they're going to honour those because legally they have to. I mean, they haven't really got much of a choice. That's what they mean by the contracted things. What I'm interested about is if Starfield or Indiana Jones are going to be contracted as well. We don't know what those contracts are. We know those games are coming, but there's no... Contracts are usually signed years in advance. This is not something that's done like a week or two before.
That's my point, isn't it? That sort of Deathloop is timed at exactly the same time this has been brought to the forefront of everyone's kind of, view on what's happening with Bethesda. So, as you said, contracts are sort of written and agreed months, years, possibly longer, that they know these things are going to be happening. So why are these two things happening at the same time? It just seems a bit confused, in my opinion.
The Xbox deal has been going for 5 months. Unfortunately for Xbox, they couldn't do anything until the money has gone through. They literally couldn't nail anything down until literally yesterday, and that's why they had the roundtable thing. So all these contracts they were done previously are all set in stone. But as you said, we don't know what the contracts are for these other games coming up. So that is going to be interesting to see how these all shake out. But I do think in a year's time, 2 years' time, all these games will be 100% exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem, aka Game Pass, PC, and Xbox.
Weird Phil Spencer mentions about legacy titles. He says, so his statement said, and even in the future, there might be things that have contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do. With that, that's the thing that I'm kind of hung up on a little bit, is that legacy.
Yeah.
Do you think he's just referencing the live service games like with Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online? Or do you think he's more talking about games which were previously multi-platform?
I mean, it could be either. As you said, the wording could be a bit misconstrued. I personally think it is on about online services games, but it could quite as easily be like, we could release Skyrim again on PS5, like, as you know, how many times they released Skyrim? I mean, it is on
true.
previous systems, so releasing it on a PS5, possibly that might be what they mean by legacy. But I do think what's happened in the past with Mojang and with Double Fine, they've had their games developed and they said they would be coming to multiple platforms, and they've honoured those. So Minecraft is still on PlayStation, still on Nintendo, and Psychonauts 2 will be on PlayStation as well. So those type of things are still they're still going through, but everything that's new is just Xbox exclusive. So I think it is just titles, again, it's like the contracted thing previously with Deathloop. I think it's more along that line when they say legacy titles, and obviously online service games which are multi-platform and cross-play.
Do you feel with Bethesda, though, you know, like any sort of new titles or new IPs that they bring out, obviously they would go straight to Xbox. Maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe he's saying, you know, the back catalogue, obviously a lot of that is multi-platform, and that's where they've got their popularity from, is having their games on everything, basically, isn't it? As you said, Skyrim is available on literally every platform going. You know, I can put it on my toaster, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or the fridge, that's the other one. I mean, what Xbox is now is that they're no longer really a console manufacturer. They're more like they are Netflix, or that's what they're trying to be. They're trying to they're focusing more on Game Pass than they are about selling consoles or anything like that. So what they want to do is have a consistent level of good content coming out every couple of months to keep people in the subscription model. It's like the Netflix model. You'll get Stranger Things or The Crown or something like that every couple of months, and then you'll have all these little things just to keep you going. And the analogy I heard earlier was just like streaming services are like sushi. It's like you have a lot of rice, which are like the stuff that's just there in the background, like the back catalogue. But then you need to have like a bit of fish every couple of months. You know, you need something substantial, and that's what Bethesda brings to Game Pass. So it's like you'll have Halo in November, and then you'll have Starfield in spring, and then the new Wolfenstein in summer, and then so they have like these big tentpoles to keep people subscribed to Game Pass. I mean, that is the goal, is to keep stringing people along, essentially.
Do you think then, with the existing IP, like Phil was saying, and you've touched on as well, Lewis, with new IP, you'd expect those immediately to be Xbox exclusive. I don't think anyone would even bat an eyelid at that. Like, that should happen. In terms of the existing IP that are there, in terms of like your Elder Scrolls, your Doom, your Wolfenstein, your Dishonored, those kind of things, do you think new titles in those existing IP would be platform exclusive to Xbox and its Game Pass ecosystem?
Yeah, that is the reason why they've bought Bethesda, is to make Game Pass a more enticing product. They want everyone to sign up to Game Pass. I mean, they've said previously that if they could get Game Pass on PlayStation, they would do that, but obviously PlayStation would want that on their system.
No chance. They wouldn't take that. No way.
Well, like we were saying about Skyrim being on toasters and stuff, that's literally what Xbox want to do with Game Pass. I mean, they got the S, the X, PC, and now they stream on Android phones. They want to get it on iPhone, but there's legal requirements. But they're gonna have browser-based services, not Bowser. Different podcast.
That'd be different, wouldn't it? That would be a different crossover. Just get Bowser himself, or Doug Bowser from Nintendo. Just get him involved in it.
I think I'd be annoyed if Wayne Gretzky's hockey doesn't come out on PlayStation in the future.
What is
You've
that?
done some research there. You've done some research.
Oh, that's Bethesda's 1988 title, Wayne Gretzky's hockey. I was a big fan of that.
Of course you were.
Slightly before your time, Spence.
Well, yeah. Well, Phil, you know, as we said in the podcast a couple of times, you were 42 by the time that came out. So, you know, you've got some good memories of that. They're probably fading now at this age, Phil, but
to be fair,
I'm surprised you still remember it.
To be fair, ice hockey games were always epic as a kid.
Yeah, they were.
Do you remember what icing is? What's icing? I never understood what icing was, but I cause that issue all the time.
This is probably going to be a bit controversial to the PlayStation audience, but I've been saying this for months. I've been saying this for a number of episodes actually in the past whenever this kind of topic has come up. If it was PlayStation that were doing this deal, you know damn straight there wouldn't be a goddamn thing going anywhere else outside of our ecosystem. There definitely wouldn't. And I remember saying when we talked about the potential success of Xbox in the future, this was about the same time that just before PlayStation 5 came out and Xbox, and we weren't sure if Xbox was going to clean house, that now they got that really cheap SKU in the S. And I think we were saying at the time, basically saying about like how the fact they need to get more exclusives. They just need to, because at the moment they're just getting trashed. Like there's, out of the two consoles, there really isn't much need to own an Xbox at the moment, because with Halo being delayed, there's nothing there. There just isn't, or nothing of any worth. I mean, you got the medium, but you know, Christ Jesus, like that's nothing. So you need to have something there that's got a real bit of meat on the bones. And as much as it pains me, because I love Doom, I love Wolfenstein, I love all these things, that will be the thing that makes me buy an Xbox for those IP. So if they can keep that within the ecosystem, they don't bend, they don't break on it. Like at the moment, the Xbox being outsold, I think it's like 4-1. It's getting trashed. But if they stick to their guns and they do not release this anywhere else apart from Game Pass and things like that, I know I'll be buying an Xbox.
Personally, I think it's quite a shrewd business move for them to buy Bethesda and release games that are available on PlayStation. Because if they're about making money from selling the games, to have it available on all the platforms, they're going to make more money from Bethesda. They don't necessarily need Bethesda to be 100% exclusive to Xbox. Fair enough. You scrape off the cream, right? And that's your big games. That's your Dooms. That's your Elder Scrolls. That's your Skyrims. That's the big games everybody knows Bethesda for. Put those to Xbox. But all the other ones, sell them on PlayStation. Make your money. Make your coin.
As much as like I do agree they probably would make a bit more money if the games were on PlayStation, them acquiring Bethesda now ensures that every Bethesda release can be day and day on Game Pass. And I think that's what they want.
And honestly, Microsoft is a multi-trillion-dollar company. They don't care about making slight bit of money from PlayStation. They can make their money back from selling Game Pass subscriptions to people. I mean, that's how they're going to make their money. They don't want to sell it on PlayStation, and they want to establish Xbox as a bigger brand than what it is. Because, as you said, they are clearly in third place at the moment.
And you don't feel like... I'm maybe not talking about the game sales here, right? So if they sell another Wayne Gretzky's hockey on PlayStation, right, and they make a couple more bucks on that, that doesn't matter. But having an Xbox game on PlayStation, that's huge, right? That's a marketing, dream, isn't it? To have your name on a competitor's console.
But then it takes the need away from having to buy an Xbox.
It doesn't if you hold back exclusives. The ones people want, you put on Xbox.
But if you wanted Wayne Gretzky's hockey so badly, you would buy an Xbox to play it. So, like, if it was on PlayStation, then why would you buy an Xbox?
There's a kind of middle ground here, which I think we could potentially explore. So the middle ground would be that you have everything go day and date on Xbox, right? On Game Pass. Everything. But you also release on PlayStation. But they have to pay 70 quid. So then you got that choice then of, I could just buy this console for £400 or whatever it is, but then I've got all these games for free that I'm paying 70 quid for. And there is that too. Now, personally, I think the smartest decision is locking it away. Locking it away and saying it's only here. This is the only place you can get it. Screw everyone else. That will force people to buy an Xbox, even if it is just a secondary console.
But you're only saying that because that's what PlayStation do.
But it works.
It does work, but you don't see this idea yet because it hasn't happened, right? You've got to try these things. So why not have a developer that you can put out games on both consoles? And as I said, keep the cream of the crop for your exclusives, but sell across the board, maybe at a later date, as you've mentioned, and at the higher price that Sony sort of demands. And then you do attract people naturally to the preferred console.
But then Xbox didn't have exclusives all the way back from 2017 onwards, and that's completely screwed them. This entire generation has been a problem for the Xbox One because it has no exclusives. And that is the problem. And that's why Xbox has invested so much money in buying new studios. They've gone from I think it was free studios in 2016 to 20 free studios. They've bloated ridiculously. And honestly, I think they're fed up of being third place. They know they've got the money to do it. They want to compete. They want to be the big dog. They want to be the top console. They want to sell everything on their console. They want 100% of the money, not 50% because 50% go in PlayStation. They want all the money to themselves. They want to take over. This is a long-term investment. This is not a quick way of making money. This is them investing in building a bigger brand and taking over, essentially, which is kind of scary, but it's what I feel like it is.
Okay, for me, so this omni-channel approach, which I'm talking about, exists now. It exists with The Walking Dead, right? So when The Walking Dead comes out, it comes out on their preferred service. Later, and it comes to Amazon. It comes to Netflix, or maybe not Netflix, but it comes to other services later on. So that's what I'm talking about, is an option for Bethesda to be able to now release their games on PlayStation at a later date.
I get it. I just don't think that's what they want to do, personally.
It's just a thought. I'm only going off what's popular at the moment and what's generating, a lot of traffic on these platforms.
It makes a lot of sense, but I think that they're in the mindset of the traditional mindset of, as you said, exclusive to sell consoles. That's what their mindset is at the moment. I mean, I see your logic, but I think Phil's pretty much made his point that he's going to try and keep everything exclusive to console, to the Xbox ecosystem.
I actually kind of agree in that obviously games should come to us at a later date. It's a smart way of making money. And that's kind of how I feel Phil Spencer meant. Terrible name, by the way, seeing as we have Phil and Spencer.
Yeah, I just...
There it is.
I didn't even clock that. I didn't even clock it.
Every single time you said the name, I thought, this is horrible.
Every time you say Phil, I'm like, did I say that? Fuck me.
What were you doing on the Bethesda roundtable, bro? Will I do it? Will I won't do it? I don't know. Nobody knows from my statements because they're vague as fuck.
Mate, crack is a hell of a drug. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but Phil, like you said about obviously making more money by bringing the games to a different service later on, I kind of feel that's what he meant by the legacy games. Whereas, so obviously future games in that IP would come to Games Pass and Xbox on day, and then timed exclusivity, and then eventually come to PlayStation. That's what I thought from legacy.
You guys are talking the same way that PlayStation doing with their PC releases. Like in terms of just dropping it way down the line, that they then get access to Days Gone and Death Stranding and stuff like that. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, very similar to that, yeah.
Well, my example, you go to Amazon now, what season of The Walking Dead can you watch on Amazon?
God knows. Did anyone actually watch The Walking Dead past season 3?
I'm currently watching The Walking Dead, hence why I'm talking about it. But,
Poor bastard.
But what I'm saying is, it's not the newest season, and it's not the season before the newest season, it's not the season before that. But the back catalogue you can watch on Amazon, but it's not an Amazon product. They're just making that extra coin and promoting The Walking Dead as a series to get people to subscribe to the preferred platform.
I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, this is the interesting thing about it now, is that we've got, as you guys have already said, we got Deathloop and we got the kind of contractual games to get through. But then when it comes to Starfield and it comes to the new Elder Scrolls and the new Doom and everything else, that's when we'll know what it's going to mean going forward. But I will be really interested to see that. Lewis, have you got any kind of final thoughts or anything you want to add in?
I mean, I actually had a PlayStation-related question to do with this subject. We've been arguing if it's going to be full exclusive or not. Let's just say it is full exclusive for the purpose of this question. So there's no Wolfenstein and there's no Doom. Do you think it's time for PlayStation to bring back Killzone and Resistance to try and fill some kind of void from those games being gone?
You are literally preaching to the choir. We are desperate for them to come back. And I gotta say, I'm really happy for Xbox that this whole deal's gone through, because you need healthy competition in the gaming ecosystem for everyone to improve. If we didn't have Xbox coming out with achievements, we wouldn't have trophies, which are obviously the better system. You wouldn't have all these different things that they learn from each other without that healthy level of competition. So we need that here, and it does make a healthy Xbox going to make a better PlayStation. And it would mean a PlayStation that can't demand a load of shit or instigate rules that everyone disagrees with, but they got no one else to go to. I mean, no one's going to go to Nintendo. Are you fucking 10?
It's like a podcast without me, Davey. You know, I'm here just to spur you on, to kick you when you're down, to slap you across the face, to ask you to pronounce your lager in the certain accents that that you do quite eloquently each episode.
It's getting better. It is getting better. I mean, the one I did today slayed it.
Hey, you practiced.
I was going to say that earlier, is that without Xbox, would we still be in the Ridge Racer and $5.99 US? Would we still be at that kind of level? Without PlayStation, would Xbox still be TV, Call of Duty, TV?
If they've still got the Ridge Racer soundtrack, I don't care. I was vibing to that when I was a kid.
You've got to have that healthy level of competition, and so if Xbox can really start killing it this generation and start gaining some ground, then it's only going to mean better things for us as PlayStation fans, because they'll have to raise their game. You know, a high tide raises all ships, as the saying goes.
Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Again, if you want to reach out to the guys in PS We Trust, links in the description. They're really nice guys. Had a lot of fun. I'm hoping to be on there again in the future, I hope. Fingers crossed. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and stay tuned for more. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, too sweet. Latest, guys.
Join Potato Club today and too sweet that subscribe button.